Some missing person cases begin with nothing, a blank slate, an empty room, a forgotten memory. But this story, one of the most unsettling in recent memory, began with too much left behind. Imagine a lonely pickup truck, parked on a remote, winding dirt road deep within the rugged Oklahoma mountains. Its doors are closed, seemingly untouched. Inside, the family dog, alive but barely, waits patiently. And next to him, a treasure trove of personal belongings, wallets, IDs, cell phones, a GPS device, and a staggering amount of cash. But the family? The family was gone, as if swallowed by the vast, silent wilderness around them. Before the mystery, there was a family. Bobby Dale Jamison, a 44-year-old father, his 40-year-old wife Sherilynn, and their cherished 6-year-old daughter, Madyson. They were residents of Eufaula, Oklahoma, living lives much like any other family. Their story didn't start with dark omens or dramatic incidents, but with the simple decision to embark on a trip. They were ordinary people, navigating the everyday challenges and joys of life, unaware that their next journey would become a bewildering enigma that continues to perplex investigators and fascinate the public decades later. This was an ordinary family, on what seemed like an ordinary day, heading towards an extraordinary disappearance. In October 2009, the Jamisons set out from their home. Their destination was the rugged, heavily wooded terrain near the Sans Bois Mountains in Latimer County, southeastern Oklahoma. Reports indicated they were looking at a 40-acre plot of land for sale, potentially to purchase it. This wasn't an escape or a spontaneous adventure, it was a practical, mundane errand, a visit to a piece of property in a secluded, beautiful, but notoriously unforgiving wilderness. The intention was to return home with a decision about the land, not to become a decades-long cold case. The drive itself would have taken them deep into areas where cell service was spotty, if available at all. Days after the family was last seen, a chilling discovery was made. The Jamisons' pickup truck was found abandoned on a remote gravel road, deep in the mountains, approximately an hour's drive from where they were thought to be viewing land. The location itself spoke volumes: isolated, difficult to access, and far from any major thoroughfare. It was the kind of place one wouldn't stumble upon by accident, and certainly not a place to intentionally leave a vehicle if one intended to return quickly. This was the first major piece of the puzzle, and it immediately raised alarms. The silence of the truck, however, was deafening. What made the discovery of the truck so immediately baffling was what was found inside. Perhaps the most perplexing detail was the substantial amount of cash. Investigators reported approximately $32,000 in crisp bills, neatly packed into a satchel. This wasn't loose change or a few crumpled notes, it was a significant sum, enough to start a new life or escape a bad situation, yet it was left completely untouched. For a family to abandon their vehicle and such a large sum of money defied all conventional explanations. It suggested either a sudden, desperate flight, or an external force that gave them no time to react. Beyond the cash, other personal belongings were also left behind, adding layers to the enigma. Wallets containing identification, cell phones, and a GPS device, all items crucial for survival, communication, or navigation in a wilderness setting, remained in the truck. In any ordinary scenario, if a family left their vehicle, they would take these essentials with them, especially in a remote area where getting lost is a real danger. The fact that they didn't suggests either an extreme rush, an unexpected turn of events, or perhaps an inability to retrieve them. These objects became silent witnesses, telling a story of a sudden, unplanned departure. Among the most heartbreaking discoveries was the family's beloved pit bull, O'Malley. He was found inside the truck, alive but severely malnourished, indicating he had been there for days without food or water. His presence raised another critical question: if the family intended to return, why would they leave their dog in such a vulnerable state? And if they were forced to leave, why was O'Malley not taken, or at least let out? The dog's survival was a small mercy, but it only amplified the tragedy and the baffling nature of the family's disappearance. O'Malley was the only living thing found in the truck, a silent, loyal sentinel. The scene at the abandoned truck presented a profound paradox. On one hand, the vehicle was packed with everything a family would need for travel and survival: money, identification, communication devices. On the other, the family itself was inexplicably absent. This led to the central, agonizing question that would haunt investigators for years: why would Bobby, Sherilynn, and Madyson Jamison simply walk away from their truck, leaving behind the very tools essential for their well-being or for contacting help, in such a remote and dangerous environment? This wasn't a case of being unprepared, it was a case of being prepared, and then inexplicably abandoning those preparations. Once the truck was discovered, a massive search operation was launched. Hundreds of volunteers, law enforcement officers, and search and rescue teams converged on the Latimer County area. They combed through the rugged, heavily forested mountains, a terrain notorious for its dense undergrowth, steep ravines, and hidden caves. The task was daunting. Visibility was often limited, and the sheer scale of the wilderness made finding even a trace of the family incredibly difficult. Days turned into weeks, and the initial hope of finding them alive began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of dread as the mountain held onto its secrets with an unyielding grip. Despite the extensive search, the mountains offered no immediate answers. No footprints were found leading away from the truck, no discarded clothing, no signs of struggle, and no confirmed trace of the Jamison family. The silence that followed the initial frantic searches was heavy, a palpable absence of information. The truck had been found, a concrete piece of evidence, yet the people connected to it had simply vanished. This created an eerie dichotomy: a crime scene without a crime, a disappearance without a clear cause. For years, the case grew colder, becoming a haunting local legend whispered among the residents of southeastern Oklahoma, a reminder of the wilderness's power. As investigators delved deeper, a peculiar detail emerged: home security camera footage from the Jamisons' residence, captured just before they left for their trip. The footage showed Bobby and Sherilynn loading their truck, but not in a hurried or typical fashion. Their movements appeared slow, almost trance-like, as if they were under some form of duress or heavily sedated. At one point, Sherilynn is seen walking back and forth, holding a white bag, then placing it back down. This footage didn't offer clear answers, but it added a profound layer of unease, sparking immediate speculation about the family's state of mind or whether an unknown party was involved in their departure. The strange details of the case, especially the large sum of cash, the abandoned essentials, and the unsettling security footage, quickly fueled a firestorm of public speculation. Theories ranged wildly. Some suggested the family was involved in illegal activities, perhaps drug-related, and were either fleeing or met with foul play. Others speculated about mental health issues, a family pact, or even a sudden, collective breakdown. The fact that the family's pit bull, O'Malley, was left behind further complicated these theories, as it seemed out of character for any loving pet owner. The sheer inexplicability of the situation allowed for all manner of conjecture, with no firm evidence to ground it. For long, agonizing years passed without any substantial leads. The Jamison family remained a haunting mystery. Then, in November 2013, a significant breakthrough finally occurred. A group of hunters, venturing deep into a remote, heavily wooded area of Latimer County, stumbled upon skeletal remains. The discovery was approximately 3 miles from where the Jamisons' truck had been found. This was precisely the kind of dense, difficult terrain that search teams had initially scoured, but the vastness of the area and the passage of time meant it was entirely possible for something to have been overlooked. Hope and dread intertwined as authorities began the arduous task of identification. Forensic anthropologists and investigators worked tirelessly to identify the remains. The process was slow and meticulous, but eventually, through dental records and other forensic techniques, a definitive confirmation was made. The skeletal remains belonged to Bobby, Sherilynn, and 6-year-old Madyson Jamison. The discovery answered one crucial part of the mystery: the family had not simply started a new life, nor had they been taken far from the region. They had perished in the very mountains they had ventured into. But with this answer came a fresh wave of questions, as the cause and manner of their deaths remained frustratingly elusive. Despite the identification of the remains, the central question of how the Jamison family died could not be answered with certainty. The condition of the skeletal remains, after 4 years of exposure to the elements, made it impossible for the medical examiner to determine a clear cause or manner of death. There were no obvious signs of foul play, such as gunshot wounds or stab marks, but the absence of evidence does not equate to evidence of absence, especially after such a long time. The official ruling was unspecified. This left a chilling void at the heart of the case, a tragic, unresolved ending to a bewildering saga. One of the primary theories suggests that the Jamison family succumbed to the harsh elements of the Sans Bois Mountains. It's plausible they left their truck to explore the land, perhaps wandered off the trail, or became disoriented. The remote and rugged terrain, combined with potential exposure to cold, dehydration, or an unforeseen accident like a fall, could have tragically claimed their lives. Even experienced hikers can get lost, and without proper gear or water, survival chances diminish rapidly. Their phones and GPS were in the truck, cutting off potential avenues for rescue. It's a somber, yet scientifically plausible, explanation for their ultimate demise. Another chilling theory posits that the Jamisons encountered foul play. The large sum of cash in the truck, while left behind, could have been a target or a component of a larger criminal enterprise. Perhaps they met someone nefarious while looking at the land, or were forced from their vehicle at gunpoint, coerced into walking deeper into the woods, where they were eventually murdered. The strange behavior on the security footage could also be interpreted as the family being under duress or controlled by an unseen party. This theory suggests an external, human threat, a predator lurking in the shadows of the remote wilderness, an encounter that sealed their fate. Speculation also touched upon the family's personal lives and potential financial issues. Reports indicated Bobby Jamison had been receiving disability benefits, and the family reportedly had some past conflicts. While the $32,000 cash could point to illicit dealings, it could also represent savings or a planned purchase. The unsettling footage could be interpreted as stress or an argument rather than coercion. This theory, though lacking concrete evidence, explores the possibility that internal family dynamics or pre-existing troubles played a role in their disappearance, leading to a tragic outcome in the isolated mountains. However, this remains firmly in the realm of speculation, given the lack of evidence. Inevitably, with a case so mysterious and devoid of clear answers, internet folklore and supernatural theories began to circulate. Some online communities posited everything from alien abduction to encounters with cryptids or vengeful spirits of the mountains. While these theories add to the cultural noise surrounding the case, it's crucial to distinguish them from investigative facts. Legacy Vault grounds its explorations in evidence and reasoned analysis. Such fantastical explanations highlight the human desire to find any answer, no matter how outlandish, when the truth remains stubbornly out of reach. They are a testament to the enduring mystery, rather than a path to understanding it. The Jamison family disappearance continues to haunt people because it sits in an uncomfortable limbo, neither fully solved nor completely unknown. The image of their truck, frozen in time with their possessions and loyal dog, creates a chilling paradox. The fact that a 6-year-old child was involved amplifies the tragedy, making the lack of answers particularly agonizing. The money and phones left behind make a voluntary disappearance highly improbable, pushing the mind to darker conclusions. The discovery of their remains brought closure to their physical location, but the crucial question of how and why they died remains unanswered, leaving a permanent ache in the collective consciousness. The Jamison family was eventually found, bringing a measure of closure to their physical disappearance. But the ultimate answer, the truth of their final moments, was not. Their abandoned truck, their loyal dog O'Malley, the untouched money, and the forgotten phones told one part of a chilling story. The vast, silent Sans Bois Mountains kept the rest. And sometimes, the most profoundly haunting mysteries are not the ones where nothing is found at all, leaving investigators with an empty trail. They are the ones where just enough is discovered to prove how much is still missing, leaving us to forever wonder about the final chapter of Bobby, Sherilynn, and Madyson Jamison.